Alright, let's get one thing straight right off the bat. Portgas D is the most overrated character in One Piece history. And I'm not talking about some casual opinion here. I mean objectively, factually, this man fumbled the biggest rescue operation in anime history because he couldn't handle a middle schooler level insult. And you know what? I'm tired of pretending he's this untouchable legend just because he died tragically. So today, we're breaking down 5 undeniable reasons why Ace is not just overhyped, but actively frustrating as a character. And trust me, by the end of this video, you're either going to agree with me completely, or you're going to be typing in all caps in the comments. Either way, I'm here for it. Let's dive in. Before we tear this man apart, let's set the stage. Because I'm not here to strawman anyone. I actually want to give Ace his flowers where they're due, before I explain why those flowers should have been left at the funeral home. Portgas D Ace, 2nd Division Commander of the Whitebeard Pirates, user of the Mera no Mi, big brother to Luffy, son of Gold D Roger, the literal king of the pirates. On paper, this guy is stacked. He's got the pedigree, the power, the crew, the aesthetic. Fire powers? Come on. That's the coolest devil fruit type in shonen history. The man had everything going for him. And when we first meet him back in the Alabasta arc, he's cool as hell. He shows up, pays for Luffy's meal, fights Smoker to a draw, and leaves like an absolute boss. We're all thinking, okay, this is Luffy's brother? This guy is him. Then we get the flashback with him, Luffy, and Sabo. The 3 of them making that sake cup promise? Iconic. Heartbreaking. Beautiful. Fast forward to Marineford. The entire world is watching. Whitebeard, the strongest man in the world, declares war on the Marines just to save one man. Luffy fights through Impel Down, teams up with Crocodile and Jinbei, storms the gates of justice, and literally almost dies multiple times just to reach his brother. Admirals are falling back. Warlords are getting bodied. This is the biggest war arc in One Piece history. And then Ace ruins it, and that's where we begin. Let me ask you something. If your dying father figure, who just took a devastating blow to save you, looks you dead in the eyes and says, "Leave me behind, live freely, and make sure my sacrifice wasn't in vain," what do? If you answered anything other than run, congratulations, you have more common sense than Portgas D Ace. Chapter 573, the climax of Marineford. Luffy has finally freed Ace. The handcuffs are off. Whitebeard has given his final captain's order. All of you, leave this place. Live freely. The man is literally standing there, holding back the entire Marine force by himself, and he tells his sons to go, and what does Ace do? He starts running. Good, great. We're on track for a clean escape. Luffy's exhausted but alive. The plan is working, and then Akainu opens his mouth. Whitebeard is a loser from a bygone era, and Ace stops. Dude, my brother in piracy, do you understand what just happened? Thousands of pirates just died for you. Luffy poisoned himself, fought through 6 levels of hell, teamed up with war criminals, and went toe-to-toe with admirals. Ivankov used years of his lifespan pumping hormones into Luffy's body. Whitebeard took a magma fist to the chest. Oars Jr. got his leg cut off. Jozu lost an arm. And you're going to throw all of that away because a man in a flower hat called your dad a mean name? Let me be crystal clear. This is not a debate. This is not subjective. Ace's pride, his inability to let an insult slide, directly caused his death. Akainu didn't outsmart him. He didn't overpower him in a fair fight. He pressed a button, and Ace's ego did the rest. And here's the kicker. Ace knew this about himself. In the flashbacks, Garp literally warns him, "Your recklessness will get you killed one day." Makino says, "You need to learn when to walk away." Even Luffy, the guy who declares war on the world government over a flag, has better restraint than Ace in this moment. This wasn't heroic. It wasn't noble. It was stupid. And it disrespected every single person who bled for him. Okay, so here's where it gets spicy, because this is the one point where the Ace defenders come out swinging. He had hockey! The novels confirm it! Yamato's flashback shows it! And you know what? You're right, Ace did have hockey. All 3 types, technically. Conqueror's hockey, armament, observation. The Ace novels, which are considered canon, confirm this. In Wano, we see a young Ace clash with Yamato, and their Conqueror's hockey creates black lightning. So yes, he had it. But here's my question. If he had hockey, why did he fight like he didn't? Chapter 441, Bonaro Island, Ace versus Blackbeard. Blackbeard literally calls him out. "You Logias are always so overconfident in your powers. That is why you are careless." And he's right. Ace spams fire attacks over and over, even though Blackbeard's Yami Yami no Mi nullifies devil fruits. He never switches to pure hockey combat. He just keeps throwing flames at a black hole and acts surprised when it doesn't work. Now compare that to literally any other top-tier fighter. Katakuri uses his mochi fruit fruit, but he's also a monster with observation and armament. Doflamingo's strings are deadly, but he's also got hockey-infused strikes. Even Crocodile, who lost to pre-gear Luffy, was strategic enough to use his environment and tricks beyond just sand go burr. Ace's fighting style in the manga is 90% devil fruit, 10% everything else. And that's a problem when you're in the new world, where hockey is the baseline requirement for survival. Whitebeard didn't become the strongest man alive because of a devil fruit. Roger conquered the seas without one. Shanks is a Yonko with one arm and 0 fruit powers. But Ace got comfortable and lazy. And before you say, but he died young, he didn't have time to grow, let me remind you, Luffy is younger than Ace was at Marineford, and now he's already mastered Gear 5, Advanced Conquerors, Future Sight, and Rio. Ace had years on Whitebeard's crew, training under one of the greatest pirates ever, and he still fought like a Logia rookie. Blackbeard was right. He was careless, and it cost him. Now, I know this one is going to sound harsh, but hear me out. Because this isn't even a slight against Ace specifically, it's a structural critique of how he was written. Ace is Luffy. That's it. That's the tweet. Think about it. He's reckless, eats like a black hole, loves his friends unconditionally, has fire powers, the most shonen element imaginable, and has a tragic backstory involving a promise to a sibling. He even has the classic, I must atone for my cursed bloodline trope that every chosen one protagonist gets saddled with. The only difference is that Ace is what Luffy would be if he wasn't the main character. He's the template without the plot armor. And I think that's intentional on Oda's part, but it also makes Ace feel redundant. We already have Luffy. We don't need Luffy, but with fire and daddy issues. And the tragedy is, Ace could have been so much more interesting if he leaned into being Roger's son. Imagine if he had learned some of Roger's techniques. Imagine if he wielded a sword like Roger did, and we got to see a divine departure style attack from him. Imagine if he struggled with the weight of his father's legacy in a way that actually shaped his fighting style or his goals. But instead, he rejects Roger entirely, which is fine thematically, but then the story also doesn't give him anything unique to replace it. He's just Luffy light, with fire, and a darker color palette. He's not a bad character, just not a particularly original one. And when your whole identity is the cool older brother, but you don't have a distinct personality beyond that, you're gonna feel a little hollow. And speaking of Roger, let's talk about the elephant in the room, or should I say, the ghost of the Pirate King haunting the narrative. Ace being Gold D. Roger's son is one of the most insane reveals in One Piece. When Sengoku announces it to the world at Marineford, it recontextualizes everything. This random pirate the Marines are executing, he's the biological heir to the King of the Pirates. The world government wants him dead, not because of what he's done, but because of what he represents. The bloodline of the man who turned the world upside down. That's heavy. That's generational trauma on a cosmic scale, and Oda handles it beautifully from a thematic standpoint. Ace hates Roger. He thinks his father's legacy is a curse. He took his mother's name Portgas because he refuses to be associated with the man who ruined his life before it even started. That's compelling, but here's my issue. The story uses Ace's lineage as a plot device, not a power source, and I think that's a missed opportunity. Let me explain. In most shonen stories, when you're the child of a legendary figure, you inherit something. Naruto has the Nine Tails and Uzumaki chakra reserves. Ichigo has his Shinigami and Quincy powers. Gon has Nen potential because of Jing. Even in One Piece, we see this with Yamato idolizing Odin, but Ace? He got nothing from Roger except a target on his back. No special techniques, no inherited will in a combat sense, no secret Roger-style hockey move. The Mera Mera no Mi has nothing to do with Roger. His fighting style has nothing to do with Roger. Even his dream, to make Whitebeard the Pirate King, is explicitly a rejection of Roger's path. And again, thematically that's fine, but narratively, it makes the Roger's son reveal feel hollow. It's shocking when it's announced, but it doesn't actually change anything about Ace as a fighter or as a character. It's just a reason for the execution to happen. Compare that to Luffy. Luffy is Dragon's son, Garp's grandson, and Roger's spiritual successor. And we see that legacy in how the world reacts to him, in the Gorosei's fear, in Imu's fixation. Luffy's lineage has weight beyond just exposition. Ace's lineage? It's a death sentence. And while that's tragic, it also feels like wasted potential for one of the most hyped backstories in the series. Okay, deep breath, because this is the one that's going to make people mad. But I need you to hear me out on this, because I'm not being edgy for clicks. I genuinely believe this, and I think if you look at the story objectively, you'll see it too. Ace's death was the best thing that ever happened to One Piece. Not because I'm glad he's dead, not because I hate him as a person, but because his death was the single most important catalyst for Luffy's growth, and by extension, the entire second half of the series. Let's walk through it. Marineford ends. Ace is dead. Luffy is catatonic. He's broken. He's ready to give up. up, Jinbei has to physically stop him from self-destructing. And then, in one of the most beautiful scenes in the entire manga, Luffy realizes something. He's too weak. Chapter 590. What do I have? Luffy is sobbing, punching the ground, spiraling into despair. And then Jinbei asks him the question that changes everything. What do you still have? And Luffy answers, I still have my friends. That moment doesn't happen without Ace dying. That realization that Luffy can't do everything alone, that he needs to get stronger, that he has to protect the people he loves because he couldn't protect Ace, none of that happens if Ace survives. The 2-year time skip doesn't happen. Luffy doesn't train with Rayleigh. He doesn't learn the basics of hockey. He doesn't unlock Gear 4th. He stumbles into the new world at level 1 and gets destroyed by the first emperor he meets. Ace's death is the crucible that forges Luffy into a true contender for the Pirate King title. It's the moment where One Piece stops being a fun adventure and becomes a story about war, sacrifice, and legacy. And here's the uncomfortable truth. Ace alive doesn't give us that story. Ace alive means Luffy never has that breaking point. He never learns the lesson that he's not invincible, that his recklessness has consequences, that losing someone is a reality he has to face. Ace as a character was a narrative tool. His purpose in the story was to die. And I know that sounds cold, but that's not a criticism of Oda's writing. It's a recognition of how masterfully he structured the story. Ace wasn't built to survive. He was built to be the emotional weight that pushes Luffy forward. And in that sense, his death is perfect. Tragic, painful, but perfect. So yeah, narratively speaking, Ace is better as a memory than as a living character. And I think deep down, even the biggest Ace fans know that's true.